In 1857, as northern India erupted into armed rebellion, the warrior states of Rajputana appeared remarkably quiet. But this silence was deceptive. The region was trapped by a paralyzing web of legal agreements. Decades earlier, between 1817 and 1818, the British East India Company approached the local rulers with an offer of military protection. In exchange, the princes signed treaties handing over their foreign affairs and military control. Company officials, like the newly appointed resident David Ochterlony in Delhi, were installed to watch over them. The treaties guaranteed internal autonomy on paper, but in practice, Ochterlony and his successors began dictating local politics. To centralize this oversight, the British set up a new headquarters in Ajmer in 1832, run by the Agent to the Governor-General, or AGG. By the time the rebellion broke out in 1857, the man sitting in that powerful seat was George Patrick Lawrence. The British had engineered a system of systemic oversight that neutralized the region's military independence. By shifting military control to British-run units, they ensured the local rulers were dependent on company forces to maintain their own power. This administrative chokehold quickly translated into economic ruin. The British demanded a fixed annual tax, known as kiraj, regardless of droughts or famine. At the same time, they systematically confiscated traditional feudal lands, converting inherited Jagiri estates into Khalsa, or crown lands. Local lords lost their income, and desperate kings passed the tax burden down to the peasantry. The financial pressure primed the region for conflict, but the immediate trigger was religious. The British introduced the new Enfield rifle, seen here. To load it, soldiers had to bite open cartridges rumored to be greased with cow and pig fat, a direct affront to the religious beliefs of both Hindu and Muslim sepoys serving in the British ranks. As anger built within the barracks, it was simultaneously being stoked in the royal courts. Local poets like Mahakavi Suryamal Misan composed fiery verses reminding the Rajput nobility of their warrior heritage, openly criticizing their submission and demanding a return to arms. The violence of 1857 was the result of decades of mounting economic and cultural pressure. While sepoys fired the first shots, the movement quickly expanded to include court poets, farmers, and artisans who felt their way of life was under threat. To enforce their rule, the British maintained 6 strategic military cantonments across Rajasthan: Nasirabad, Neemuch, Deoli, Aranpura, Biawar, and Kherwada. Tension broke at Nasirabad on May 28, rapidly spreading mutiny south to Neemuch. While Biawar and Kherwada remained inactive, the entire region descended into chaos. As the Neemuch garrison fell, 40 British officers and their families fled for their lives. They were first hidden by a local peasant farmer named Raghu Ram in the village of Dungla. Eventually, they were escorted to Udaipur, where the Maharana of Mewar granted them refuge in Jagmandir, a palace on Lake Pichola. This early phase of the conflict created a complex political reality. The rebels proved the British could be driven out, while local rulers were forced into a delicate diplomatic game, protecting colonial officials while their own citizens took up arms against the empire. The rebellion reached its peak in the region of Marwar. Troops stationed at Aranpura mutinied in late August, marching toward Delhi with the battle cry, "Kill the foreigners, march to Delhi." But they found their most effective commander much closer to home, Thakur Kushal Singh Champawat, a powerful local lord operating out of the Awa fortress. Kushal Singh's forces completely overpowered the British columns. At the Battle of Chalavas on September 18th, the rebels directly engaged and defeated the British forces, killing the political agent, Macmason. To send a clear message, his severed head was mounted on the gates of the Awa fort. Meanwhile, in the city of Kota, the revolt took a completely different shape. There was no British military cantonment here. Instead, a massive uprising was organized by a lawyer, Jai Dayal, and a local military leader, Marab Khan. The civilians overwhelmed the royal palace, placed their own king under house arrest, and assassinated the British representative, Major Burton. The events at Awa and Kota demonstrated a shift in the conflict. With feudal lords commanding armies and ordinary civilians taking over capital cities, the British faced an organized, sovereign war waged by both the nobility and the public. As the British reorganized and began retaking territory, the rebel commander Tatya Tope entered Rajasthan twice to find new support. He successfully captured Jalawar and fought a series of battles, but his campaign ended after he was betrayed by a close associate, Man Singh. He was handed over to the British and executed in 1859. The resistance also required massive capital. Amarchand Banthia, a Bikaner native, provided the funds necessary to keep the rebel armies of Tatya Tope and Rani Lakshmibai in the field. His financial support earned him the title the Bama Shah of the Revolution, right up until the British captured and executed him for his involvement. With the rebellion finally crushed, the British exacted a calculated revenge. They manipulated protocol to humiliate local rulers. The king of Kota, who had lost his city to the rebels, had his ceremonial gun salute reduced from 15 down to 11. Conversely, the rulers of Jaipur and Karoli, who aided the British response, were rewarded with higher salutes and new lands. The East India Company won the tactical war through superior firepower and local betrayals, but their strategy of mass executions and public punishments ensured that men like Kushal Singh and Amarchand Banthia were remembered as symbols of resistance. If we look at the final ledger of 1857 Rajasthan, George Patrick Lawrence directed the British response. There were 6 cantonments, but only 4 rebelled. Awa and Kota became the twin capitals of the resistance. Amarchand Banthia paid for the war with his life, while loyalists like Maharaja Ram Singh II of Jaipur walked away with the Star of India title. The uprising in Rajasthan was dismantled through force. While the British regained tactical control, the stories of the rebels were preserved in local literature, ensuring that the resistance of 1857 remained a permanent fixture in Rajasthan's history.